Age isn't just a number. Effects of virtual human age and gender on persuasion, social presence, and influence in interpersonal social encounters in VR. With VR technology advancing rapidly, virtual humans, anthropomorphic digital agents with the capacity for simulated human-human interpersonal social encounters in immersive spaces, are becoming key players in immersive virtual interactions, from marketing to education and healthcare. Virtual reality offers users highly engaging, immersive experiences that can shape attitudes and behaviors both immediately and over time. Because of this, VR has enormous potential as a platform for persuasion, whether in sales, training, and behavioral interventions. At its core, persuasion is the process of influencing a person's beliefs, attitudes, or behaviors through communication. Traditional theories of persuasion emphasize the importance of the message source, the content of the message, and the characteristics of the audience. Prior research reveals that virtual human characteristics such as appearance, age, and gender have a profound impact on user persuasion through anthropomorphism, presence, and vividness. For instance, users are more influenced by agents who share their characteristics, especially in appearance and gender. While previous studies have examined how virtual humans influence persuasion, there is a significant gap when it comes to the specific role of both user and virtual human age and gender. Our research aims to fill this gap by examining how these factors interact in immersive interpersonal social encounters. Our study is the first to systematically explore these questions in VR by evaluating 3 different virtual human age groups on persuasion and other social influences in immersive VR. Investigating the interplay between both user and virtual human age and gender on persuasion and other social influences in immersive VR. To guide our study, we asked 3 key research questions. To what extent does virtual human age and gender influence persuasion and social influence in interpersonal social encounters in VR? To what extent does user age and gender influence persuasion and social influence in interpersonal social encounters in VR? To what extent does the interplay between users' age and gender, and the virtual human's age and gender influence persuasion and social influence in interpersonal social encounters in VR? From these questions, we developed 7 different hypotheses. While we won't list them all here, this study hypothesizes that persuasion in VR is influenced by age and gender dynamics, with middle-aged virtual humans being the most persuasive, cross-gender interactions enhancing influence, and female and older users being more receptive to persuasion. To test our hypotheses, we conducted a multi-factorial user study with 45 participants in an immersive VR setting. We structured the study around 3 key variables. Firstly, 3 different virtual human ages: young, ages 20 to 39, middle-aged, ages 40 to 59, and older, ages 60 to 79. Secondly, 2 different virtual human gender conditions, either matched or mismatched to the participant's gender. Thirdly, participants engaged with virtual salespeople across 3 thematic distinct but similar modules: sustainability, electrification, and innovation. To prevent any learning or familiarity biases, we employed a Latin square design, which randomized the order of age and age conditions across participants. Before launching the main study, we conducted a pre-test to ensure participants accurately perceived the virtual humans' ages. In this pre-test, 34 participants categorized static images of the virtual agents into age groups. The results confirmed that our virtual humans were perceived as intended, meaning any persuasion effects observed in the main study were due to actual differences in age and gender rather than misperceptions. Participants first provided informed consent and completed a pre-study survey assessing their demographics, technology familiarity, and cognitive age. They then entered the virtual BMW showroom using a Meta Quest 2 headset and interacted with 3 virtual salespeople across the study's 3 modules. These interactions were dynamic, allowing users to control the flow of the conversation using ray-based button selection, a method that mimicked real-world conversational turn-taking while maintaining experimental control. After each module, they completed surveys evaluating their attitudes toward the brand and salesperson, perceived credibility, interpersonal attraction, and the overall persuasion impact of the agent. Once all 3 modules were completed, participants took a final survey measuring social presence, co-presence, and perceived realism of the virtual agents, alongside workload and cybersickness checks. The entire session lasted approximately 1 hour. One of our key findings was that middle-aged virtual humans were generally the most persuasive. Specifically, middle-aged male users and young female users found middle-aged agents more attractive than older ones. Participants described the middle-aged agent as more realistic and human-like. This partially supports H1 that users would be more persuaded by VHs of similar age. Prior research in marketing psychology indicates that individuals are more likely to be persuaded by communicators of a similar age. Additionally, Richards et al. Found that young adults preferred virtual support characters of the same age or older. Our study provides novel evidence of such findings in an immersive sales environment, featuring a virtual salesperson. These findings also provide support for H3 and partial support for H6. H3 predicted middle-aged VHs would have a higher social influence compared to young and old VHs, whereas H6 predicted that VHs sharing a chronological age, but different gender with the user leads to higher persuasion and social influence on users. Although such effects were found for middle-aged users and VHs, a four-way interaction between user and VH age and gender was not found. We found compelling evidence supporting the notion of cross-gender influence in VR interactions. Female users showed a significant increase in positive attitudes toward the brand after interacting with male virtual humans. Conversely, male users exhibited higher brand attitudes after interacting with female virtual humans. Young female users also displayed higher levels of perceived co-presence with male agents compared to female agents and male users. These results align with prior work by Zambaka et al. And, to the best of our knowledge, demonstrate for the first time that cross-gender effects exist on persuasion and social influences with virtual humans in an immersive virtual environment, thus supporting H2. Our study revealed that female users generally reported higher levels of social presence, perceived realism, and a stronger sense of presence compared to male users. They also found the virtual sales experience more useful and perceived higher levels of humanness or anthropomorphism in the virtual agents. Male users, on the other hand, tended to be more critical. This supports H4, indicating that female users are generally more receptive to persuasive approaches. Prior psychological research on persuasion strategies shows that women are generally more receptive to most persuasive approaches than men, and female users tend to be more responsive to persuasive messages than male users. Our study provides novel evidence of such effects in an immersive virtual environment. Middle-aged users demonstrated higher levels of perceived utility and usefulness toward the virtual human, along with a greater sense of humanness or anthropomorphism, compared to younger users. Qualitative responses highlighted that middle-aged participants found the experience stimulating and immersive, reinforcing their openness to virtual persuasion. This supports H5, suggesting that older users are more readily persuaded and socially influenced than younger users. This confirms prior research in advertising, which indicates that older users are generally more susceptible to persuasion than younger users. Our study shows novel indication of such phenomena with VHs in an immersive virtual environment. We also observed that male users retained more information when interacting with male virtual agents, potentially due to in-group favoritism. Meanwhile, younger users responded more positively to female agents, showing improvements in brand attitude and task attraction. These findings align with H7 and mirror results from Bigham et al. Given the scientific and factual nature of the conversation, which likely heightened the credibility of female agents among young users. Our study demonstrates how the immersive virtual nature of interactions amplifies this effect. In conclusion, our study offers novel insights into the impact of virtual human age and gender on persuasion and social influence within immersive VR environments. We found that the age and gender of virtual humans significantly influence their persuasiveness and social impact, and this varies based on the user's own age and gender. Virtual humans of a different gender from the user may exhibit higher levels of persuasion and social influence. Female and older users appear to be more susceptible to influence compared to male and younger users. These findings highlight the importance of carefully considering user demographics such as age, gender, and socio-cultural factors when designing immersive persuasive technologies. Thank you. Please see our paper titled, "Age Isn't Just a Number, Effects of virtual human age and gender on persuasion, social presence, and influence in interpersonal social encounters in VR.